Gimme. It's finally over. School ended today. Full focus on YouTube this summer. With some great content coming your way. Big news today because look, I'm going to start this live stream bold. I would love this player. I am in love with this player, can I say. He is an absolute gem. He is a gem. If Pinto pulls this one, we have secured an absolute gem even after not just adding it to Dybala, but also thinking about the future because this guy's only 20 years old. Baldanzi is unreal. And we're going to get into this today. We're also going to speak about Donny van de Beek because Di Marzio said something about Donny and how he's been offered to us, but it's not a priority, so we'll get into that. So yeah, more transfer news today. If you're ready for it, smash that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Let's get into this. This is a player we need. This is a player which if we don't get now, we will never get. Because he's 20 years old, he's currently playing at Empoli, and he has shown everybody who follows this area, and I say follows this area because if people say he's not good enough, I clearly know you don't follow this league. This is an unreal signing if it happens. If anybody here is skeptical about this, trust me on this one, because if anybody says he's terrible, we don't need him, I know as a matter of fact you don't follow this league. Because he is a gem. And look, I'm going to use the word gem so many times in this stream, because he's a gem. He's an absolute gem. Plays at Empoli and obviously is 20 years old. Has played for the Italian under-20s, the World Cup, which Italy lost in the final against Uruguay. He was a big part of that team. There were 3 players who were standouts in that team. Casadei, Chelsea player, Baldanzi, Empoli player, and the third one, I always forget his name. It's the guy who scored that incredible free kick in the semi-finals, I believe. That Italian team, that Italian under-20 team was carried by these 3 players. One of these 3 players is Tommaso Baldanzi. Look, this is, again, we'll get into why we need to buy him right now, because that is the most important thing to discuss when speaking about a gem like this one. But the first thing which has to be said is it's definitely not a priority. It's definitely not a priority because if we get him, he would be Dybala's substitution. And look, we need squad depth. We need players who... we need a lot of players, right? And we've seen this season how Dybala played so many games which maybe with a better squad depth, Dybala could have avoided to play and maybe not get injured this often. So we definitely need somebody to step in when Dybala's injured, to step in to give Dybala a rest, and third most importantly, to also think about the future of Dybala. Because yes, Dybala's 29 years old, he's still got a lot of time in front of him, but look, 4 or 5 years, Dybala's not going to be the same. So we definitely, by buying a player like him who's 20 years old, you're focusing on that future at its best, and that's obviously something which has to be said. The second thing which has to be said is that we have to exploit this opportunity now because, one, because he's an Empoli player, and 2, because if we wait, we will end up in the same path as we've ended up with Frattesi right now. So financially, it's a massive opportunity to take because obviously for a team like Empoli, who every season fights to not get relegated, and for a team like Empoli, who in my opinion, from my research that I've done, are one of the poorest, I don't want to say poorest, but one of the most unwealthy teams in this league, there isn't a player in every transfer window which they don't aim to sell. They sell players, and they were forced to sell players. And we've seen this with Vicario joining Tottenham in these last 2 hours. We've seen this with Parisi, most probably leaving Empoli this summer. And we are seeing this with Baldanzi, with Roma, Milan, and Napoli heavily interested in him. So they know that they will end up selling him. And they also know that they can't ask too much money, because if somebody presents an offer of 50 million euros for Baldanzi, that is absolute gold for a team like Empoli. So they can't raise their targets too high, because then nobody buys their players. And for a team like Empoli, if somebody gives you 15 million euros, you know how many players you can buy with 15 million euros when you're a team like Empoli. So this, again, we have to exploit this opportunity financially, but we also have to take this opportunity, because I've said this a few minutes ago. If we don't buy him now, we will never buy him. And the story is kind of almost the same. We've seen so many players being linked with us. Oh, I want him, I want him, I want him. But then we hesitate to actually present an offer and buy him. We wait too long, and he vanishes away because he joins more financially powerful teams. We have this. I'm not saying in a fist bump, because it's not that, it's definitely, it's not a close deal. We will most probably present an offer to Empoli in these next couple of weeks, most probably in July, when we will have the UEFA sanctions kind of away. We will most probably prepare an offer, but again, time is crucial here. Because if we wait too long and we go, right, you know what, actually, he's not a priority, let me focus on him next summer, he's gone. It's like you leave a cage with a bird inside open, the door slide open, you can't expect that bird to not fly out of that cage. He wants liberty, he wants freedom. Off he goes, he flies away. So the cage always has to be closed. And for the cage to always be closed, we have to buy him right now. Because if we don't buy him right now, we don't buy him. We just won't buy him. And look, isn't this giving flashbacks to anyone? Haven't we seen this before with Fratesi last year? Being very close to us, Fratesi being in her fist bump, Fratesi being the next Roma midfielder. Basically, there was an agreement between us, Sassuolo, and the player who pushed to sign us. Then we decided to slow down, and 90% he's not going to join us, because he's had 1 year of space to grow, to become more mature, and to become a better player. And when these players become better players, we've got better and more powerful teams in our league, like Inter, Milan, Juventus, which are going to exploit the opportunity before you. So it's kind of a now or never situation. And look, again, there aren't many talents out there which really catch my eye. I have to be honest with you. I am somebody which kind of spots a good talent once in a while. But I have to be honest here. I have to be honest with you here. He is something special. He is something special. And if people don't know who he is, if people didn't watch many Empoli games this season, didn't follow the World Cup, the under-20 Italian team in the World Cup in Argentina and Brazil, trust me here. I've never told anybody to trust me more than this time. Trust me, because he is a gem. Another interesting thing is that Dybala is his idol. He is very similar technique-wise to Dybala, obviously. Obviously, Dybala is another level, but Dybala is also 10 years older than him. But he's said many times in interviews how Dybala is the player he looks up to. And there was this joke which he said when we played against them this season, Roma against Empoli back in February, that in the press conference, Baldanzi went, I admire Dybala a lot, but at time of speaking, Dybala's a 10 and I am invisible because I'm absolutely no one. So look, I'm not saying that Dybala could facilitate this, but when you're 20 years old who's trying to fulfill your childhood dream, to play with your idol is something which could definitely speed up the deal and the negotiation between the two sides. And it could especially push him to kind of prioritize us, kind of like how you're seeing with Fratesi, how he does want us, but unfortunately, most probably he will not join us. I do think Fratesi will join Milan, and I feel like I should say this. I am almost convinced Fratesi is going to join Milan because Tonali went to Newcastle. Speaking, I'll give a few words on that Tonali move. Am I surprised? I have to be honest, I'm not that surprised, because there are no flags in 2023. In moving on in this next generation of football, there will not be flags in these players like Maldini, Totti, Nesta. It just won't happen. And look, as a Roma fan, we've seen this in January with Zaniolo. Tonali is effectively, at all costs, Zaniolo 2.0. Maybe Tonali's situation is a bit more understandable because he's joining a team which is a very ambitious team, like Newcastle, and he's also going to get a higher salary, almost double the amount he earns at Milan. But yeah, look, I'm not surprised. I'm really not surprised. I can't be bothered to think about this because it doesn't involve my team. As many people point out on the fan forum on WhatsApp, you know, Milan are inevitably going to get weaker. So that's definitely a bonus for us. It's definitely not a bonus for Italian football because I've said this many times, when you grow Italian players, you tend to want to keep them in your own league, to then for the Italian national team to use them, exploit them, and kind of look at them more than if they play outside of Italy. But I'm not surprised. He's going to play in Newcastle. He's going to be a staple player in that team. I think he's going to have a lot of fun. No doubts about that. He's going to learn a lot from a very competitive league like the Premier League. But I definitely think it's an L for Italian football because he could be. In fact, he's going to play tonight in the debut of the under-21s Euros. Bove is going to start as well, so interesting to see. He's the captain of that team, and yeah, I think he's a great player. I would have loved for him to stay in our league, but I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised. And again, I don't care. He's not part of my team. But there you go. That's my judgment on Tonali. Back when it comes to this Baldanzi deal, just a few little other things to speak about. This is a player which Thiago Pinto and Mourinho have fallen in love with. This is a player which, again, it's kind of, we would bring him in our team not because he's a priority, as we said at the start, but to enrich ourselves and to think about the future as well. And the second reason why, the second thing which has to be said is that Thiago Pinto is preparing an offer for him. Thiago Pinto is preparing an offer for him. He will present an offer to Empoli in these next couple of weeks. It's most probably going to be in July, as we said before, because in July we will have less of this UEFA distraction, selling players, making money things. So in July we'll definitely have more freedom in the transfer window, and it's going to be that period where we're going to buy players. And we could see him join Roma, especially now that Fratesi is going to Milan, in my opinion. But again, I don't think he's going to come to Roma either way. I think we are, I'm not going to call it an all-in, but we're definitely focusing a lot on Tommaso Baldanzi. And yeah, other than that, Napoli, Milan are interested, but I don't think it's a Milan priority because, I think Fratesi is their priority right now, and Marcus Thuram is another Milan priority. And Napoli is a weird team. Napoli is a weird team because their owner doesn't want to spend money. The Lazio owner and the Napoli owner are very similar in a way that they are very arrogant and don't normally spend money to enrich the team. With that being said, let's close this Baldanzi bracket and let's talk about Donny. Donny. I've got a lot of mixed doubts and question marks on this one because I actually, this morning I woke up and I read Di Marzio's statement that said that Man United have offered Donny van de Beek to us. Roma are considering it just in case they don't find better options. But Di Marzio said this, it's not a priority right now. Roma would only consider this if they are in emergency, they're in desperate need of midfielders, and maybe as a way to enrich your squad depth. I've got question marks on Donny van de Beek for the simple reason being that I woke up today, read Di Marzio's statement, looked up a few things about him. The last game he played, full 90 minutes in, was in 2019 against that Tottenham side when Tottenham pulled that insane comeback. That's almost 3 years that Donny van de Beek has played full 90 minutes. Now again, he's been an incredibly unfortunate player. Incredibly unfortunate player in Man United. He played one game, got injured the other. It was a constant play, getting injured, rehabilitise, step back again. It was a constant cycle. I have no doubt that he's got good capacities, good capabilities, good characteristics which could benefit the way we play. But I've got a lot of question marks when it comes to fitness. A lot of question marks when it comes to fitness. So again, if it's a loan move, I would only consider it if it means improving the squad depth. Let's all be honest. If Donny van de Beek comes, he's never going to be a starting player because we have got a lot of midfielders. Pellegrini, Matic and Cristante, who are literally Mourinho's gods. Bove, who is growing up a lot. So, in terms of Man United loaning him out and improving our squad depth, I would consider it. But I can't lie, there are plenty of other better options than Donny van de Beek. He's an incredibly unlucky player. Poor Donny, but yeah, we kind of need to go. I don't know, what do you guys think about this? Because I know a lot of you guys follow the Premier League here. What do you go for Donny? Would you go for Donny van de Beek? Yes, in fact, you know what? Let's do a poll. Because I think it's an interesting one. I think it's going to be a mixed one. A lot of people, it's probably going to be a 50-50 close call here. Because a lot of you are going to go, Donny's got good talent, which you could bring in this Roma side. But the other lot of you guys will probably go, very unfit. We definitely don't need to bring such an unfit player in our team. And I agree with both, but final judgment, I would definitely back the fitness because, again, look, there was a similar discussion with Smalling. Came from Man United, literally like Donny van de Beek. Smalling was injured every time at Man United, and then he came at Roma, and now he's an absolute statue in this team. Do I think something similar could happen? Maybe. Never say never. It happened with Smalling. Why can't it happen with Donny? Right, there we go. I think I put the poll. Yeah, it's there. So yeah. To be fair, I don't see Van de Beek trying anymore, says Chris X22. So yeah, mixed reactions when it comes to that. I don't know. I think there are better options out there. Definitely better options. I am sweating as mad. Oh, it's so hot. I cannot stress how hot it is today in Rome. It has definitely touched the 40 degrees. He's really good, but I prefer Verratti, but just go for both of them. I have to be very honest with you. They're two completely different midfielders, because one of them is a defensive box-to-box, one of them is a creative one. Age is very different. Can I be honest here? Dead serious. I would rather get Baldanzi than Verratti. Can I be honest? No, look. Maybe not. Maybe not. I'll be honest. I would love Verratti in our team. But I think it's a very close call. Because I think he's got insane talents, this guy. This guy's going to be the future of Italian football. And if we get him before everyone else, I would be the happiest man on earth. I never trust players' highlight videos. I do never, but I've followed his games, not just as an Empoli player, but also the World Cup, the Under-20 World Cup. I can say he's a gem. I can say. We've also been linked with Savio, Brazilian 2004 attacker, who also looks like an absolute gem. Yeah, I've heard about that. We'll definitely speak about it this week. Savio is a winger. I think this is a sign that we are changing formations next season. Bella. What is Baldanzi's transfer value? Around 15 to 20 million. But again, it's Empoli, so you can't really negotiate much. They would take the 50 million euros as a matter of fact. To be fair, I don't see Van de Beek trying anymore. Yeah, we read that. Yeah, so look. Thoughts on Donny, and then we'll end the stream. Let's see what the poll says. Computer is very slow, but let me see if it does work. I'm not crying, by the way. Yeah, just to put it out there. I'm not crying. Not crying because Tonali left. Right, let's see what people think. 53% say no, 56% say no, 44% say yes. I expected that. Close call, but the majority says no. Look, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to catch you tomorrow. If you haven't already, smash the like button, subscribe to the channel. Before you leave this stream, please click that like button and subscribe if you're new. It literally takes 2 seconds and it supports this community, this channel a lot. So please do it before go having your dinner or your breakfast, wherever you're from. Bove is most probably going to start tonight in the debut of the Italian under-21s in the Euro against France. Big game that is. It's France against Italy, two of the best teams in that tournament. So interesting to see that. Interesting how he adapts to the under-21s. And yeah, I'll catch you tomorrow. If you haven't already, if you've got any questions, any opinions on Baldanzi and Donny van de Beek, feel free to comment in the chat. I'll be very curious to read and respond to all of your comments. I'm going to go have a shower because I'm absolutely boiling. And I'll catch you soon. All I want from this video is Tommy Baldanzi, a Roma player. Simon, out.